U.S. Representative Mike Rogers.
Thank you, Rich. I'd say the best thing about becoming chairman of the Intelligence Committee is the technology I'm exposed to is a lot better, so that the equipment we have now to watch across the lake at Rich's house is so much better. And we have some chatting we need to do. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you very, very much for coming out this morning. I appreciate it. Richard, boy, that was the nicest thing I've ever heard. Would you go with me the rest of the day around the district? I could probably use you, and I have to tell you, that was kind words. To say that a politician is right about anything is almost, I almost fell out of my chair. The best advice I got was from my dad when I ran, and decided to run for the first time for office. And he said, just remember one thing after you get elected. 50% of the time, you're not going to be right. And the other 50% you're going to be wrong. So good luck. And I'll be darned if he wasn't exactly right the whole time I've been serving. And also, Rich had a request, apparently, about some photos that people may be interested in. He wanted kind of a high school package, so we have wallet size for that. Oh, I'm kidding. It is really a very interesting time, and I thought for a minute, I mean, we have some serious issues certainly to deal with in the economy, the debt, the deficit, and how we're approaching that. Gas prices, I mean, may snatch a recovering economy right out of our hands here if we don't get a handle on it. And we can talk about that in questions, but I thought, and I talked to Pat, who's doing a marvelous job, there she is, here at the chamber. She said, just talk a little bit about your time as chairmanship and what that means and how it works. And so I thought I'd do that. So, well, thanks. I'm the chairman. That's about all I can say. Thank you for coming this morning. Being here. Next question. When you take the chairmanship, it's an interesting, it's kind of an interesting change. So I went from a minority member on the committee, which I was fairly active on the committee, to the chairman, which is a huge leap. It really is, even more than I thought. It was almost exponential. And the Intelligence Committee is unique in that we have, it's an oversight role, but because of the classifications, and there are so few folks who can provide that oversight, you have much more involvement with the agencies of which you oversee. And there are 17 of them. So the Intelligence Committee is responsible for the 17 intelligence agencies, which includes everything you've heard of, from the CIA to the NSA, the National Security Agency, the people that listen to conversations overseas, or at least we hope they do, the National Reconnaissance Office, the people who put up the satellites, our military intelligence services, all of that falls within those 17 agencies, and it is a lot of money. I mean, it is a tremendous amount of money. And so, because of the classifications, you end up spending a lot of time with those agencies, reviewing their work, talking about policies, reviewing decisions in a way that you probably wouldn't find in other committees on the Hill. So in that regard, it's very, very consuming. And we meet in a basement area of the Capitol. Where you have to put your fingerprint on. It's like James Bond. You got to put your fingerprint on there. And I was deathly afraid to get my fingerprints taken. Is the sheriff was out here this morning? A few things cleared up for my high school. So you have to go through this whole process and to get into the building. So it is a very classified setting. And it is frequented, as you might imagine, by some great patriots in America, people who have risked their lives and risen in the ranks of intelligence services. And I think there's a lot of mystery about the intelligence services, and rightly so. And there are a lot of secrets that they keep, and I argue rightly so. I am one of those that does believe that the nation has the responsibility to keep some things secret for our national security purposes. Yeah, you can vote for that. And the rate is a great example. So I thought I'd walk through just the process. I'm not going to give you any operational details or those kind of things, but the process and how it happens. I think it's very illustrative of how it works and how the system works for you on your behalf for your money. And it is your money at the end of the day. When I became chairman, they went out to the agency, and we had a scheduled dinner with the director at the headquarters. And a lot of times the CIA director will just stay there. There is so much going on. There's so many approvals to be had that sometimes the wee hours in the morning it's just easier to camp out there. So they have a little place where the director can stay overnight during operations and things. So we went out, and at that time, they brought me into the briefing that showed the preliminary information that they had on the compound. And at that time, it was fascinating for me to see the different types of analysts. And what an analyst is, there's two different kind of people in the intelligence world. They're called operators and analysts, really. And then you have the logisticians that help support both roles and all of those things that go with it. So the operator might be the person that you would understand as the spy, the person who goes out and tries to recruit somebody to give us information. And the analyst is someone who takes all the information that they get from all the sources. So we may get, the NSA may send you a phone call that they intercepted overseas that says, Osama bin Laden is in Kalamazoo at the Burger King with Elvis. Pretty sure we got that from a call from France and Pakistan. This has got to be good. And an analyst would take all that information. They would take some source information, and the source is somebody that was recruited out in the field somewhere. Could be anywhere you can possibly imagine. Their job is to get people to tell us secrets. And that's what they do. So they would take some reports that they might come in, and they analyze everything. So they put the phone call next to the source information, next to satellite imagery, and the analyst's job is to look at all of that and try to piece together what they see and what it means to us, in this particular case on counterterrorism. So that's what they did. So back in January, they had analysts that weren't sure. They had some that were saying it's got to be Osama bin Laden, and there are some that said, we just don't know enough. There's just no way we know enough. And how they got to there was that last August, they had finally found somebody, and the way they found him I thought was pretty amazing. Let's back up earlier than that. Right after 9/11, we engaged in lots of combatant detainees, and we conducted literally hundreds, if not thousands, of interviews of people we knew were involved in the Taliban and Al-Qaeda and other terrorist networks. And they put together a very important database for us. Prior to that, we really didn't understand how Al-Qaeda operated. We knew who they were, we kind of knew of them, but we didn't know how they operated. 70% of what we know came out of all of those interrogations, and I mean all of them. You'll have lots of press accounts trying to finger one or this one or that one. It wasn't any one particular, it was all of them. And what that meant is we better understood how they performed their logistical movements, how they financed themselves, how they recruited, how they conducted an operation, how they planned for an operation, how they communicated amongst each other. We didn't know any of that before. So you can imagine if you're going to try to break an organization, you need to know those things. That's important stuff to know. I mean, it's mundane in some ways. I mean, how do they move money from place A to place B? That's not spy exciting. But it is absolutely crucial if we're going to understand how to dismantle that organization. And so all of that information, about 70% of what we knew, we gained from that. So back about 5 years ago, they're doing another interrogation, and somebody coughs up a name that is a nickname, an Arabic nickname, applied to somebody who was using an alias, an Arabic alias, meaning it wasn't his true name. So it'd be me like saying I'm, Frank instead of Mike. And they said, good luck on finding this person. You need to look somewhere between northern Africa and probably at the outskirts of Pakistan. Good luck. And here's his nickname. It's like telling an FBI agent to go down to Texas and say, find little Joe, and the best clue we have for you is he has an accent. Good luck. That's about what they had. So from that, they just kept developing little pieces of information. And at one point, they had a piece of information where somebody, so they knew that it was a courier operating in a group of other couriers who they were also using nicknames applied to aliases, by the way, just to make it a little more interesting. And how that would do that is if I was a courier for Osama bin Laden, what I would do is I'd take a piece of information. I had no idea what the value of it was. I would take a thing. In the drug business, they call them mules. I would take this piece of information and I would go to a guy where I knew his nickname of whatever it was. And I would go to that place and meet the person of a certain prescription that would go by that nickname, and I would hand it to him and I'd be done. That was it. That was my job. Don't ask any questions. Don't talk to anybody. Then go disappear for a while. And that person would do the same thing. And then that person would do the same thing. And that person would do the same thing.